Here with Coach Rivals. We're in week 3 of Tier 1. My co-caster here is Justin. How are you
What's
doing
up?
tonight?
I'm doing well. I've been looking forward to this all day. I've got my tea ready to go. I've got chocolate and cherry black tea. It's to keep me awake from this snoozer of a tier 1 game that we're going to be having tonight.
Oh,
I'm
I
just
doubt it.
kidding.
I
It's
think it's
going to
going to
be a
be a
banger.
bloodbath. It's going to be awesome. And we're also joined by Brad on productions, who's doing an awesome job already. So thank you. All right. So this week we've got Team Eclipse versus Let Us Win. Let's jump over and start to get some information about these teams.
Yeah, for sure. We've got tons of stats, tons and tons and tons of stats for these for this particular tier. And look at the screen. You've got these are our stat leaders. So I'll kind of give a little bit of background. Each role has specific stats that we're tracking, whereas mid and top, their stats are pretty similar. But jungle does have a counter jungling farm stat that we're tracking as well. Bot lane ends up having a maximum killing spree stat that we're tracking, and the support has a ton of vision stats. We're tracking average vision differential, vision score per minute, average vision score per game, and then the wards placed and wards killed. So it's been a lot of fun looking at this, but we do see some members on this page that will be playing in the match tonight.
That's right. We've got in top lane Pathfinder versus English Teacher. And you guys may know that Pathfinder basically ends every duel in a full on anime pose in real life as well as in the game. He's now played 2 champs on Yone, and you can see him throwing out a huge amount of damage with 34% of his team's total damage. So that's going to be impressive. English Teacher, though, is the Titan of Tank and the Harbinger of Spank, and he's putting down some serious, let's see, what is it, CSD at 10? That's creep score differential at 10 minutes. So he's up on that over Pathfinder. He's also got a 5-kill solo streak. So although he's not up here on the board, that is going to be a heavily contested matchup.
Yeah, absolutely. English Teacher is leading the league right now in top lane solo kills. So the members that end up, the players that end up on this stat sheet are the ones that have control of the most stats. So even though Pathfinder does have 4 stats that he's dominating himself, English Teacher, as you mentioned, has that highest CSD at 10, which is at nearly 16 CS. So at about the 10-minute mark, you're looking at him already being over a kill's worth of gold over his lane opponent. So that's pretty huge, especially if you're not getting kills. Having that CSD up there really high is beneficial because you get the gold advantage, you get the item advantage. But not only does he have the CSD at 10, he's getting the most solo kills in top lane. So not only does he have the CSD at 10, but he's getting the gold from the kills. So yeah, definitely going to be a spicy matchup in that top lane.
I am hoping for a bloodbath. Moving on to jungle, we've got Brute versus Will Win. Now, you guys might not know, with a name like Brute, it's actually a sensitive person, plays Nunu, plays trees, kind of smitten by wanderlust, and you'll see them roaming all over the map here. Whereas Will Win, he's kind of like, Ender's Game. That's like children's play. So his pathing is going to be just xenocidal here. And with Will Win, we've got just an insane amount of kill participation at 78%, right?
Yeah, and it's what's crazy about these two junglers, and what's going to be so interesting about this matchup is you touched on it. They play two very different styles. Bruit does play more of a supportive style jungler, bringing out the Ivern week 1, the Nunu week 2. These are very self-sufficient junglers, kind of more of that supportive role. And Will Win has played both the Lilia and the Wukong, so getting in the mix, dealing out a ton of damage. And, even though Clown Viego or Dose is leading all tier 1 junglers in kill participation, Will Win is right behind him at 77.74%. So he's not on the stat graphic for KP, but not a lot happens around the map without Will Win being there. And Bruit, you're not going to see those numbers. You're not going to see those massive numbers. In fact, his KDA is a 3.63 compared to Will Win's 17.67. It's a drastic difference. In fact, Bruit's damage percentage is only 10%, whereas Will Win is up at 32%. So Bruit is counting on the rest of his team, his laners, to be able to bear the brunt of a lot of that damage, while he's there to ensure that they stay alive and get the job done.
You know what though? His goal is going to be coming from his CS.
Mm-hmm.
Will Win's actually behind on CS at 10 minutes. Bruit's in the lead. The differential is 22 CS difference at 10 minutes. And so I think that partly makes up for the killing spree that Will Win has tended to go on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you're not ganking, you're farming. If you're not farming, you're ganking. And these junglers have very polar opposite play styles. I'm just extremely interested to see how this matches up, or to see if we're going to see something different from either one of these players.
Yep. Now, next up in mid lane, we have Smooth Criminal versus Bullet Games. Smooth Criminal has played Vigar twice, and what you may not know about that fiendish little Yordle is that they're actually slow push with an incredible sensitivity here. Those slow pushes can last for days. That CSing is great. And I was watching last game, the cage placement was next level. I was like, why didn't the cage go over the champions? And it took me a minute to process that they were zoning people off and trapping them, and that the cage, they're using the inside of the cage and the outside of the cage. So that is some out of box thinking from Smooth Criminal.
Yeah, for sure. And he is a massive CSer. His farm was really huge, especially for week 1. It took a little bit of a dip week 2, but a 7.85 average CS per minute, and especially on a champion like Veigar, who has infinite scaling with killing minions with your Q, and even just harassing the opponent with your abilities, you get additional passive AP that just stacks and stacks and stacks and stacks. A Smooth Criminal is not listed as one of our stat leaders for mid lane. He is being outshined right now by Sones, Pathfinder, and Bullet Games, both members of Team Eclipse. But he is, again, a rock in that mid lane. He's very consistent. He farms up and he becomes that late game threat that they need, even though he's scaling into it. Whereas these other players are making tons of moves early. He's biding his time and he's always going to make an impact later on. So really interested to see that. But as you mentioned, he is going to be going against Bullet Games, and Bullet Games is, yeah, go ahead.
Bullet Games is playing some more aggressive skirmisher assassin types. Bullet Games is known for some flash, dash, and panache. They don't usually drop control wards, but when they do, they drop 2 control wards. Most interesting mid laner out there. So tell me more.
Yeah, he is definitely one of our players that has really embraced the assassin playstyle, and we don't really see a lot of our other coaches embracing the assassins as much as he does. He plays the Fizz, he plays Katarina. I know I believe he plays Akali, possibly a little bit of Yasuo as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he's going to be able to pull out. His Fizz does draw bans, so we'll see if Let Us Win opts to get rid of the sneaky little fish yordle.
Yep. And for ADC, we have Decisions versus Happily Zerg. Decisions can fight front to back to front, spin the entire team around. Meanwhile, Happily Zerg is basically just shooting away a ton of damage here too. But in this case, I see that Decisions has a massive CS advantage over Happily Zerg. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, Decisions has been an absolute stud in the bot lane this season for Coach Rivals in Tier 1. Just dominating the stats. Every single week that I put together a stat sheet, he's up there. Has that maximum killing spree of 5. Not only is he getting the kills, but he's staying alive long enough to get more of them. That CSD is astronomical. A 24.5 CS average CS differential at 10 minutes. That's an entire 2 kills above your lane opponent just in CS, like an extra 600 gold. Being able to go back and buy items, that's an extra long sword, or maybe it could be a long sword plus boots. Being able to buy that extra item when he goes back and recalls. Zerg, on the other hand, I'm really glad to see that they had kind of a bounce back game last week for them. Happily Zerg, when the first week of stats came out, Happily Zerg and Sups9 were kind of at the bottom. And it's not because they did poorly, but it's because so much of Let Us Win's play went to topside, went to English Teacher and Will Win, and they were constantly up there in the top lane. And this most recent week for them versus Bards of a Feather, they had that bounce back performance and just really showed that they can put in that work, and they're not just playing second fiddle to the top side of the map. So it's really good for them. This is going to be a very interesting matchup.
And I think part of Happily Zerg's success is because they work so well with Sups9, who is close to reaching their quest for full map omnipotence. Not a fan of Fog of War. Really doesn't like that, and is steadily burying it in little clouds of vision. On the other side, though, we have Caspi. And Caspi, well, they've been known for their pickup lines, and those pickup lines carry an irresistible hook. We've seen Thresh come out, I think. Oh, yeah, no, sorry. Thresh was on Sups9, my bad. We've seen Soraka and some other support champions come out on Caspi.
Yeah, very different play styles here too. Just like we had in the jungler role, very different play styles here in the support role. Caspi does favor more of the enchanters. We saw Soraka and Seraphine for the previous 2 weeks, whereas Sups9 is rocking the Thresh. And these are immobile enchanter supports that Caspi is bringing in, whereas Sups9 is bringing in a hook support, try to get those picks. So that's going to be very dangerous for Caspi if Sups9 can kind of get those hooks and setting up that support. Those enchanter supports tend to be a little more squishy, so be interested to see if they can pull that off and kind of have a change of fortune there. That is an exploitable part of the lane, is the immobile enchanter support, but enchanters are so stinking strong right now, especially after that durability update. I even saw a post on Twitter from I Will Dominate that says you're an idiot if you're not running enchanters as a support. Like, if you want freeload, just run enchanters in the support lane. So maybe Caspi is sticking to that, and he's going to show us all wrong, that or just prove to us that I Will Dominate is correct, and you just need to run enchanters to win. But either way, we're going to see. I am interested to see if Sups9 is going to bring out something different, or if he's going to stick to the Thresh.
Let's take a look forward to Tier 1's most picks, highest win rate, and most banned. Got some more stats for you guys. All right, what are you seeing here?
Yeah, this is super interesting, and we had to blow up the picture of Mordekaiser over there in the far right. This league does not like Mordekaiser. Mordekaiser actually went through, we saw, if actually you played it last night in the Tier 2 matchup. Tier 1 hates Mordekaiser.
So broken.
75% ban rate. And honestly, both of these top laners can play it. English Teacher can play it. Pathfinder can play it. I actually played a game earlier with Pathfinder, and he was playing Mordekaiser Jungler. So he will break it out. He can break it out. Maybe he was prepping for tonight. Who knows? But definitely getting that Mordekaiser out there, because when you have a team that has a singular, like, solid standout damage threat, the Mordekaiser just brings so much value, regardless of whether the Mordekaiser is fed or not. Just be able to yeet that player to the death realm and force the enemy team to engage in a 4v4 versus your team. You're hoping that your team is stronger. And so he has that versatility there. But then on the other side, if he's really far ahead, he could just split push, and really nobody can 1v1 him. If anybody tries to 2v1 him, again, yeets one to the death realm, and then he has a 1v1 followed by another 1v1. And he really thrives in that environment. Most pick, we do have the Vhagar on there. We have these the two engaged champs in the Ashe and the Ornn. Victor's being picked up, these good control mages. That Victor and the Vhagar, definitely a nod to a Smooth Criminal and Sones. They've been rocking those for sure. The Yone being picked up as well. That's all Pathfinders played the past 2 weeks, as well as the Thresh for Subs 9. But then we look at the win rates too. Man, it's a hot mess. This tier 1, they do not pick champions twice in a row. I mean, I've called out some with the Smooth Criminal and Subs 9 and Sones, but a majority of the league picks a different champion every single match. And so I guess kind of the big elephant in the room tonight is, are we going to see Bel'Veth? Bel'Veth had a huge performance last week for Straight Outta Grompton. Dose brought it out and looked completely unstoppable. I'm interested to see if one of these junglers are going to pick her up and continue her highest win, keep her in the highest win rate club at 100%. We'll just have to see.
I got to play one game into a Bel'Veth on jungle, and it went badly right in the mid game. Definitely seems a little bit broken. I hope to see that banned. I'm kind of expecting Yone, Thresh, Vhagar bans. I'm also expecting some target bans against Will Win. What are you thinking here?
Yeah, for sure. If we can pull up that next graphic, we take a look at what these teams have played in the past. I think you're exactly right. If Let Us Win is coming through and they're undefeated right now, sitting at 2-0, it makes sense to throw a ban to take one of their players off of comfort. Right now, a Smooth Criminal and Subs 9 really haven't had to show us anything different, right? The Vhagar's been picked both games. The Thresh has been picked both games. And it's not so much that teams have to say, oh, he's picked up multiple times, we have to be scared of that. What they have to figure out is, does that pick, hinder what we do? They also have to consider, are they only picking that champion because that's their most comfortable champion? If we take them off of that champion, are they going to go to a more suboptimal pick because of comfort? And that's a tough decision they're going to have to make. Pathfinder, he had a loss on the Yone last week, and one of the things too with pick and ban is, as long as you're winning, just keep riding that train nonstop. But if he took a loss last week on the Yone, it's probably going to be in his mental a little bit to say, you know what, we're probably going to mix it up a little bit. It was not successful. We're going to take a little bit of a break from it.
Although the damage coming through regardless. All right, and how are we looking on getting started here?
All right,
okay, let's do it
for draft. Awesome. Yeah, pregame was pretty dope. I think I think that was good. I think it was worth the wait to get into Champ Select here.
Yeah, sorry to keep everybody waiting, but it was good. All right, thoughts?
Oh yeah, so Team Eclipse is going to be on blue side, which is super powerful, right? They're going to start off with the first ban, but they also get first pick. So interested to see not necessarily what they ban, but what they leave up, because what they leave up could mean that's a power pick that we're going to take very, very as soon as the gates open.
Right, and Wukong already one target ban at Will Win there over at Lettuce. And the Vhagar coming out for a Smooth Criminal. Meanwhile, Fizz is targeting Bullet Games, and Lucian is targeting Decisions.
Yes,
this is where I'm expecting to see the Thresh.
Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see if they force them on to anything different.
It'll either be a Thresh or a
taking their time.
Ban. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
And maybe that's showing up in some match history we haven't looked at or something like that, because I did not see that one coming.
Yeah, it's possible, and also just taking a look at what is really strong right now meta wise. But hey, we talked about the most banned champion in the league at 75%. We just spent so much time talking about it, and he completely slipped through the ban phase. Mordekaiser is locked in for Team Eclipse, and this could be going top. It could be going jungle as
It
do
could even be
really know?
going mid. Who
Could
knows?
be mid, who really
Yeah,
knows? But
nobody knows
yeah.
anymore. What do you think about those two high damage short range ADCs that got banned out? Does that hint at a kind of a more longer range playstyle?
Yeah, well, the other thing too with the short range ADCs, there it could really boil down to Illusion is really strong early, right? And
Right.
you kind of want to get that early game champ out of there if you're concerned about some of the kind of scaling that's going to be coming through from your side. Maybe if it takes a while for you to come online, you don't want them to snowball out of control. And just Samira has a lot of skill shots that she can block with her W. Just be really, and she's really slippery. So one strategy too is to get rid of those really slippery champs. The other thing too, them locking in Caitlyn is gonna, Caitlyn is a very abusing bot laner, so she can probably take advantage of some of these matchups, try to land those Piltover Peacemakers a little more often.
Oh, and the Ivern comes out. The
Yeah,
Wanderlust
and
is struck again.
the Olaf, I believe, is a direct response to the Mordekaiser. Olaf, with his little bit of a rework on him, would be able to extend the duration of his Ragnarok. He cannot be put in that death realm while he's Ragnaroked. And if I'm not mistaken, if he's put into the death realm before he Ragnaroked, he can Ragnarok out of it with some of the updates there. So definitely Olaf leans towards an English teacher pick. However, Olaf has received some nerfs in the top lane, so we could possibly be seeing him go jungle, but most likely it's going to be top.
Does
And
count as a
what's
free
the did we?
QSS though. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, and there's the
absolutely.
trash.
All right, did we miss a pick on the blue side? Are we getting word there? Because it's a Kale. Okay. So that third pick there is Kale for Team Eclipse. Very interesting. All right, there's the Seraphine band. So already starting to target the Enchanter pool of Caspi. Going to force him to bring out something
You
a
could see
little
a
bit
Soraka
different
next if they want to double ban there.
for sure.
And the Lilia targeting Will.
They're holding on to it a little bit.
Oh, the fake out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wise.
Lulu.
Oh,
Lulu's a
okay.
great band.
So they're keeping Soraka open then. Does that synergize well with the Caitlyn?
I think the Soraka's fine. Soraka's very exploitable. Even though she can throw heals out, she's using her own health to do it. So if you
Mhm.
put yourself in a position where you are like really peppering a ton of poke down onto the enemy team, yeah, the Soraka's going to keep the ADC alive and eat through that poke. But as long as the Soraka's not landing her Qs, then you're going to be, you're really going to be fine. Interesting, the Lulu ban. I really like the Lulu ban. Lulu is just the premier I'm going to stop my teammate from dying champion, and being able to wild growth them to stop any sort of assassination attempt is really good. So it could be hinting at what we're going to see a fifth pick, maybe more of an assassin jungler coming out for Let Us Win, but we'll see. Meanwhile, the Anivia was picked up. Anivia had another control mage. I was actually talking to a smooth criminal earlier today, and he mentioned playing a lot of Malzahar, Vagar, and Anivia. So really cool that he's breaking that out now that Vagar's banned.
And that is not easy for the Kale pre 6. The Anivia puts out a ton of damage. The only thing you can hope for is really to survive until the Anivia runs out of mana. So that Kale's gonna have to play super, super safe. We saw too Malzahar with ulti can just about take out a Kale every time too.
Yeah, for
So it'll be a
sure.
little bit of a
And
tough mid lane there.
Yeah, and then Nivea's going to match the wave clear. Kale has ridiculous wave clear in the late game once she hits level 16, and every single one of her attacks is exalted and doing splash damage. The Nivea, obviously with her ultimate, is going to be able to wave clear super easily. I'm interested to see if there's going to be an assassin here. Yeah, I think the Viego not an assassin, but does have a lot of that burst potential that and looking to get those resets. So I think that's likely where the Lulu ban was coming from to give that Viego more of an opportunity to try to get those resets with the kills. But yeah, I really like the game of chess that each of these teams were throwing out, and we can talk about it as we're loading into spectate. But kind of we'll let the audience kind of marinate in the picks now for a little bit.
It looks like we've got a good balance of AP and AD on Team Eclipse. And let us win. Maybe a smidge AD heavy. Is Viego AD or AP? Remind me.
He is AD.
Okay, so they're a little AD heavy, with the Anivia bringing in the balance there.
Yeah, and the Anivia damage is more bursty. It's not consistent damage unless people are just sitting in your ultimate, and people aren't likely to do that. Anivia's big power combo is her E, being able to get her enhanced damage from her E off of hitting a Q or them being chilled with her ultimate. But they have to be in her ultimate for a little bit of time, or the ultimate has to fully charge in order to give them that chilled effect. So Nivea is not one of those champions where she's going to constantly rain out damage. She's going to blow her cooldown, and then she's got to fly around a little bit, buy a little bit of time until that E comes back up, and then she's going to have another gigantic burst of damage as well. The really cool thing with the Tristana pick is that the Tristana is old school, kind of one of those counters to Caitlyn. Not in the early game, but in the later game. At the very beginning of the game, Caitlyn is going to outrange the Tristana, but Tristana gains more attack range per level. So once Tristana's getting closer to, I'm not really sure what the break point is when she outranges her, but eventually, as Tristana gets more levels in her, she is going to outrange the Caitlyn, just like the Kale. The longer the game goes on, the more the Kale can deal with the Anivia. So really, Team Eclipse is wanting to bide their time, and they have the tools to do it. Right? They've got the Mordekaiser that can soak up pressure. You've got the Ivern that can offer the shields, and Daisy up there as a pseudo kind of front line. You've got the Soraka to drop the heals. Whereas Let Us Win, I think they're going to want to go hyper aggressive here. They're going to want to start trying to snowball this game a little bit, not let the Kale get to the point where Kale gets level 16. It's kind of like Caston. Once Caston hits level 16, he's not Cassadin anymore. He's Castawin. Kale, kind of the same thing. You don't want that Kale to get to level 16. You got to really push this. But Let Us Win does have that kind of late game insurance. You don't want to fully commit and invest in a late game kind of comp. You have an early game comp. So you have the Anivia to be able to stall out the game a little bit later on. And you have the Viego where, once those late game team fights start kicking off, he can get resets off of those souls that he's taking and the champion bodies that he's inhabiting. And those invulnerability frames are absolutely massive and game changing. So I really like this. It was a really cool chess match back and forth for them to say, all right, we got the Kale, let's bring in the Anivia to match it. All right, they pick Caitlyn, let's pick Tristana as a response. They beat us late game in Kale and Tristana. Let's make sure that we have the Viego there to try to prolong those skirmishes, get those resets, and keep things spicy. So, man, it's definitely going to be a heck of a game, and I'm excited to see it.
And my question so far is, Let Us Win has a lot of ways to burn Team Eclipse's flashes early on.
Mm-hmm.
How long can they hold those flashes? How long they can play safe and do that scaling? Because we've got good engage from Thresh, we got traps, we got some burst damage, we got that sneaky jungler pathing. So I think it's going to be up to good vision and playing safe here to be able to pull this off and scale up to the late game.
Yeah, and I can see too where there's not really a good gank in the top lane, right? There's no real setup there for the Viego. There's no real setup even for the Ivern. I mean, Mordekaiser can land a pull, but Olaf doesn't really offer anything by way of setup. And Viego's ganks are really telegraphed. you typically see the mist come through and it's like, okay, he's here because he drops the mist down so he can get the kind of the movement speed and sneak in undetected. Well, when he does that, then he's there. You just start backing off. So not a lot of gank set up there in the top lane really for either team. I think in the mid lane, I can see Viego giving a lot of attention towards Team Eclipse, try to shut down that Kale early. Not that you're going to prevent the Kale from scaling because Kale's going to scale no matter what. But, you're kind of like delaying that timer a little bit. Kale's
Keep
eventually
her
going to
from
get to
buying items.
yeah,
You can
yeah.
keep her from CSing. She can be stuck under tower the entire time.
Yeah, and especially as you mentioned, pre-6, where she's basically a melee champion. She has to walk up and whack him with her sword. She gets her E, which is fortunately doesn't have a mana cost, so that's really nice for her. But I think it's on like a 5 or 6 second cooldown, and so it's not fantastic to last hit with to secure a lot of CS, but it can be done. But in the meantime, the bot side, Thresh is great for gank setup. Not only can he land those hooks, he can lantern in the Viego, he can flash flay, and then after the Soraka flashes, he can flay in. He can also flay Tristana's out of their rocket jumps. So that's something to be interested in too. You could see the Thresh flash in and hold flay for when Tristana tries to rocket jump and then flay her out of it. It's a little more. You're running a risk there because she could then just flash rocket jump, but either way, there's still some mind games that they can play there in the bot side to try to make sure that we get that advantageous catch there. But no gank set up in the bot lane for the side of Team Eclipse. So Ivern, not going to have a lot of assistance there. So Tristana can jump in and follow up. Soraka really can't. Soraka can't really set up CC to try to buy time for Ivern to get into the lane coming from mid river. So it's going to be really difficult on the side of Team Eclipse. They are putting all of their eggs in that scaling basket. 100%. They're counting on that scaling.
You mentioned Viego being telegraphed, but I actually really like that about him. It's like that Evelyn charm. It comes out, and you just know something bad's going to happen, and
Yeah.
you have to run. You have to respect it. So I think there's a lot of psychology behind telegraphing that gank. You might not get the kill, but you're going to make everybody run for the hills.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. It definitely gives a boost to that self confidence. You drop the mist down, you see people scatter a little bit.
Yep. All right. And are we looking good to go on our live game here?
Right.
Awesome. Okay, cool.
Awesome.
Hey, that Caitlyn, I've heard, I don't play ADC, or if I do, it's really badly. But I've heard she's got the self arrest, she's got the traps, she's got her like self knockback plus net combo. That plus the Thresh Lantern should be pretty safe even with Tristana jumps, or am I wrong there? Is this just
Yeah,
a
yeah,
tango of death?
it's pretty solid. The Thresh, if the Thresh is playing back enough, he can easily lantern the Caitlyn out. She's got her 90 caliber net. She can go backwards as well. It's a little wonky to control because you've got to aim it forward in order to kick yourself back. One of the things too with Caitlyn is I've gotten some hate for saying this in the past, but Caitlyn, in my mind, traditionally is a win lane, lose game champion. She can
Oh, I
dominate
see.
the lane, and she outranges like all the other champions, and it's just really oppressive, really annoying, drops the traps down and zone control and all that stuff. But when you transition into the late game, she's kind of clunky. She just stands stills and autos, stand and auto, whereas Tristana can get the resets. She can jump in, reset. She's got the ultimate to be able to knock back any sort of anybody trying to jump on her, knock back the Viego. She's not going to be able to knock back the Olaf, but get rid of the Viego. Has an attack speed buff in her Q. Has a ridiculous amount of wave clear with the bombs that she can drop down onto minions. So Tristana, in my opinion, offers a ton more than Caitlyn in the late game. Again, synergizing with that Kale. I mean, that's going to be a
Yep.
power combo in the late game. She really comes online then, and Caitlyn is gonna have her way early. But then we'll see if they can transition that lead into late game.
And here we go. We are live. So again, this is Team Eclipse playing blue side. Let us win on red. And we'll get some auto camera cam going here in just a second. Looks like we got a standard 5 point coming out from Team Eclipse, as with a safe team we kind of expect. Looks like we have a potential invade coming in from topside with Let Us Win.
Yeah, and they may, based on some scouting, maybe expected some shenanigans here level 1. I am disappointed. I say this every week. We need more level 1 shenanigans out of our tier 1 tier teams here. They're not really trying anything fancy. You have the
Minions
potential
have
there
spawned.
with the Ivern Q, and you have the Thresh Q as well. But Eclipse snuck in there, so Let Us Win had a
Yep.
pretty decent read on it. They were just in the wrong location and did not drop a ward on the red side. So Eclipse was able to sneak in here. So we'll see if they commit to this.
Oh, they're backing out.
Yeah. Now, one thing that's really what you can do here with Ivern can very easily triple buff the enemy jungler. They did end up dropping a ward on that red buff, and I think that is exactly why Will Win is starting topside as the Ivern, because typically with Ivern, what you can do is you can queue up your blue buff to be taken with your passive. After you queue up the blue buff, you can just go right across the river, Q over the wall to take the red buff, smite that red buff. You instantly steal it with the passive smite, and then you go back and collect your blue buff, and you basically double buff them very very quickly. And red team had Let Us Win had a great read on that. They knew that it could potentially be coming, and so Will Win started topside to try and try to deter rather Ivern from doing that. So really well played from their part.
Check out that early poke in bot lane there. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah,
Waiting
it's
in the bush for
unreal.
the thresh. That was
Yeah.
aggressive. I like it. And was red team there? Were they pretending to be late to lane, or how did that happen?
Potentially, yeah.
Okay.
I wasn't looking down there at it, but typically you want to mask, not give away what side of the map your jungler is starting on. But
Although
either
with
way,
us
they didn't
seeing
need
the
to
ward,
because of the
it's
ward.
pretty
Yeah.
obvious. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Hey, I see some aggressive play coming out of the Kale here. She's actually poking with her Eve rather than using it to CS at range. So this Kale's playing a lot more aggressively at level 1 than I have. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's a little risky, because getting that poke down doesn't really translate into anything. She doesn't really have any sort of kill pressure as the first gank comes through
Ooh,
already.
and first gank comes through. Wow, look at that. And the counter gank is there too, but will it be enough? Oh, first blood! Let's go! Oh, will it be a second one? It might be. Oh, double kill. All right, and that goes to Brute for Team Eclipse. Get your bingo cards going. It's on.
Oh man, that was so crazy too, because you had Sups9 down there and he went to throw the hook out. I thought he was gonna end up trying to hook the Soraka, which was right there in front of him. He ends up throwing it over the wall instead, and ended up taking that one. Likely could have gone for the Soraka, who had only, I think, like 200 HP sitting right in front of him. Instead, opted for, I believe he hit the Tristana, took the hook in, and the Soraka was there able to say, all right, fine, we'll heal everybody. Kept everybody alive. The Ivern showed up in time to drop the shields. So a great start already for Team Eclipse. Subs9 may be going back and looking at that play later on and saying, I probably should have hooked this one.
I do like Happily Zerd's response to that, where the Caitlyn stays in lane and just refuses to let them shove the wave and kind of denies that back. Ooh, and that was a good ignite, but does not quite get through the Mordekaiser shield and regen there. So in top lane, that was a very close one for Pathfinder. He'll definitely have to back now. Ooh, and here comes the let's gank Kale game. It does not go work though. Oh, wow, he's hostage. Pathfinder can't get out of there. Look at Olaf just pushing right up to that. Kind of see the mini map. You can kind of see the damage there. This is not a good situation.
Yeah, he really just needs to kind of eat the CS loss and recall. Unfortunately, he doesn't have TP, so he's trying to stay here as long as he can to absorb minions. But that's going to be an easy dive attempt there. Maybe an extra tower shot taken. So he is going to trade.
It's the one for one though, with the tower helping out. But in mid lane here, we have a problem. That ignite is going to go through. And if you saw that one cycle earlier on Smooth Criminal, they had a great wall where the Kale couldn't get around their own tower, was taking a ton of minion damage. and then took a ton of poke too and got them into that kill threat zone that lets even the lower level Anivia just take them out.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was the example, though, as another hook comes to the bottom. Here, hard engage.
Ooh, jump forward. Here we go. Oh, pretty even.
Yeah, looks like things are going to calm down there. Tristana's going to try to get that push in. They have a large wave here.
Yeah.
Looks like they're probably going to get that crash. Maybe look for a reset here. That's going to slow push into him. But yeah, that fight there in the mid lane, the wall going down basically is going to be pinning that Kayle in, forcing the Kayle to walk a particular way. The Kayle either had to walk towards the Viego or walk towards the Anivia Q, as we have the Death Realm dropped in the top lane.
No. This particular wall was a different one, and it just pinned him on the tower. Not during the game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first one did set up with a lot of the day and forced the flash out, just made the return gank much easier. As another fight in the bot lane.
And it looks like we're 1 for 1 right now. But Will Win is still going strong there. Okay, looks like they're gonna get out of there.
He is inhabiting the body of the Soraka. Not the most threatening or intimidating soul you want to take there, but he really had no choice. You know, the Sorakas was available. Go ahead and do that. Get the iframes, heal up your ADC a little bit, and then bail out.
Yeah, I'm sure happily
plates are already being taken. Yeah.
Yep.
So just Will Win being a bro. You know, even though I'm playing Viego, I'm gonna get this kill and throw some heals your way. But you know, that big kill in the top side for Pathfinder on English Teacher. English Teacher getting the advantage early with a lot of the poke, getting Pathfinder below 200 HP, putting him in a tough situation where he either needs to recall and back and just eat the CS loss. The problem was he didn't have TP to get back to lane. So he would have lost a ton. So he felt the need to stay, right? I need to stay. I need to collect this CS as best I can. Get the levels. Unfortunately, it died to a dive, but it able to come back and 1v1 the Olaf.
Pathfinder and I were just talking about that last night on Mordekaiser, whether you take Ghost, Ignite, or TP. Because Ghost brings a lot of utility when you're in the Death Realm trying to chase somebody down and they're on the edge of your screen. Whereas, the Ignite, obvious purposes, but like I still personally think Teleport is amazing. Both early game when you just get pushed out and late game when you use it offensively. Nice hook there. Trap lands too. A little bit of poke.
Yeah, and the TP is not as important on champions that only have health as a resource, right? Mordekaiser is manaless, so he's not really going to find himself in a position where it's like, hey, I have no mana, I can't push this wave out. Let me go ahead and back recall and get some mana. So 2 more fights break out.
2 ganks simultaneously. Good KLR. It won't be enough though. And in the meantime, gank top lands successfully too. So 1 each.
Yeah, great gank there. This, keep the pressure on this Olaf. Once the Mordekaiser kind of gets ahead, is now we have the roams coming through, a trade of flashes. Don't think anything else is going to be going on there. This is super risky.
Yep, that is pretty far forward. I don't know. A lot of damage coming out. Yeah, that may have been a little too aggressive, huh?
Yeah, that Anivia, it's just sneaky damage. It's really, really sneaky. The empowered E, once the opponent is chilled, does so much work. And so you think you have the upper hand on her, and then she can really turn a fight around. Will Win did stick around in that mid topside brush, was able to sneak out and land the stun, followed by the Anivia Q stun. Tristana could not move. They were just basically stuck there for a while. In the meantime, in the bot side, Caitlyn's just been farming these tower plates. That's 3 plates already over to the Caitlyn for Let Us Win, and the hook comes through as well.
Awesome thing to be doing while the Tristan is down and heading to back. And did they get away? They might. Oh, it's so close. Was Caitlyn already burned? I think so, right?
Yeah. They tried to get his body blocked by the Tristana.
Wow. Nerves.
It was well played too, because Tristana was not in vision, and so they popped the Caitlyn ult, and Tristana just happened to be stepping up in time to be able to block it. But all in all, we have a really, really close game. We take a look at it. It's less than 1,000 gold separating these 2 teams. Kill advantage going over to Team Eclipse. Gold lead going over to Let Us Win. And this, again, Kale's going to keep farming up. Tristana is going to be super useful late game as well. So they're okay being a little bit behind right now. This is not terrible. You're in a good spot, only being 1,000 gold behind.
Blue buff on Anivia makes a ton of sense.
Oh,
The
yeah.
poke on that is going to be relentless. So I have a feeling Kale's going to be coming back and forth trying to heal up to lane here. Bullet Games' life is going to be miserable for the next couple minutes.
Absolutely, and the Anivia ult is a channel too, so you turn it on and you can leave it on and leave it on and on and on as long as you have mana to keep it running. So blue buff's gonna help. She's already got prior.
Ooh, little fight over Rift here. Here we go. Nice wall, nice zoning. Trapped him in the pit there.
A very interesting attempt there to go for Rift Herald when there's no prio. Kale's not gonna be able to join. Mordekaiser's not going to be able to join, so that's a free collapse for them.
And some very nice defense by Thresh there with Caitlyn getting low with an aggressive play. I do think that the Ivern was just trying to ninja that, basically. Like, at some point, you can get objectives just by being unpredictable. You're absolutely right. There was no prio. It was a total collapse.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where you take the risk. But yeah, I think it's more. It's a risk that makes more sense if you're on red side. If you have red side and you have flash available, you can try to sneak the Rift Herald, and then if you get collapsed on, you can flash over the wall, NBD, you get out of there. But on blue side, you're so much farther away from safety, and trying to sneak Rift, not really gonna work. You can't sneak Drake.
Ooh, and we've got a fight coming here with Viego. Looks like he's gonna back off though. That's a 1v4. Still pulling some pressure, slowing that dragon down, and they do get that Drake kill for Team Eclipse.
Absolutely, and that's don't look now, but we've got the gold lead pretty much tied up already. With not only even though giving up that Rift Herald, they picked up that Drake, and this the heal from the Soraka going to keep everybody healthy here. But we do have a Rift Herald in the pocket of Let Us Win, so they're going to go ahead and drop that mid, and that should bring. They're not only going to take out that mid-tier 1, but also kind of swing the gold back in their favor.
And that's also going to start to open up the jungle to some invades. And we know that Will Win has a high number of kills in jungle. That's one of the stats we talked about.
Yeah, and being counter-jungled as an Ivern absolutely sucks, because the only way as Ivern that you can take camps as another engage here.
Ooh, nice. This time I think they've got it.
Yeah, they had the lantern for
Caitlyn.
safety.
And we've got multiple collapses here. This is like a rolling skirmish here across the entire bot side of the map. Only the top laners aren't involved.
Yeah, super scrappy fight back and forth. Ultimately, nobody drops, but Ivern, the only way Ivern can take jungle camps is by setting his passive on it and then smiting it. He can't even smite the camps unless his passive is on it. So the only jungle camps that he can take, or the only neutral objectives that he can take through actually damaging them, would be Rift Herald, Dragon, and Baron. So when you're getting counter jungled and that mid-tier 1 goes down and you just they have more access to the jungle, as you were mentioning, that really sucks as an Ivern, because you can't contest your own jungle camps. You can't go in and try to battle them as a
and Pathfinder gets a kill, Caitlyn gets a kill. We got stuff going on in both lanes. I was sitting there watching that top lane. I'm not getting game audio, but I'm in my head, I'm going thump. It's just great seeing the damage come out and Pathfinder finally get that kill picked up. In the meantime, I missed what was happening in bot lane. We just saw the very end of that. Looked like some sharpshooting from the Kale. And that is Happily Zerg dishing out the damage.
Absolutely, and already starting to see these mythic buys coming through as well. Obviously, Kale's going to be a little delayed on her mythic. She tends to go Nashor Sooth first. As Will win for the gank in the top.
Does Will win this? I guess he does. Wow. Oh, yeah. I did not realize. I thought the Mordekaiser would just sit there in Death Realm or something.
Yeah, Death Realm was used on that Olaf. It was interesting. It looked like he used Death Realm when Olaf was, like sub 300 HP earlier. So it's an interesting use of it there. I don't think it would have necessarily put the fight there in his favor if he had it anyways. But yeah, Viego's off to a great start. Also has the Kraken Slayer, so he's going to be doing a ton of damage with those auto attacks.
Yep, and we do see some mythics out for most people here. In fact, I think everybody's got one. My screen resolution's a little grainy here.
Yeah, same. Yeah, Soraka doesn't have hers yet. She's still got the Vandal Glass. We do see the Moonstone Renewer coming through for Ivern. And so one of the things that's going to be really interesting to see how it pans out is if they can get to late game. If Team Eclipse, as now it's starting to slip away from them a little bit, getting it 2K gold, it's not without, not outside of reach, but you definitely don't want that lead to balloon for Let Us Win. But if Eclipse can hold on, kind of stem the bleeding, get to late game, that Kale is going to be an absolute monster. And then you have 2 enchanters to really back her up. You've got the Ivern shields coming through. You've got the Soraka heals. And then that Ivern shield is going to get down to maybe like a 3-second cooldown once late game comes through. So you throw the shield on, 3 seconds later, you throw another shield on. And it just keeps shielding after shielding after shielding.
A potential gank coming here in bot lane. Oh, and a gank goes down. Hook comes in. Cage comes in. That is 1 kill already. Yeah, that was a great CC combo. Multiple things happening to make that successful. And there may only be 1 survivor here. In the meantime, will they escape? Yes, they will. The hitbox on that E is slightly bigger than it seems. Now, Olaf had a good run of it. That last fight made him very, very angry. Angry Olaf was hitting that tower like an English teacher grades bad papers. It's red ink everywhere.
Yeah, this is not what you want to do as Anivia.
No, it's not.
That is not
and
what you
the heal
do.
up. Yep.
Anivia thrives being able to stay on the outside of the fight, not getting up close and personal. She really wants to be able to throw her Q down, get a stun, hit with the E, and then wait for her damage rotations to come back up. Mordekaiser dishes a ton of consistent damage, especially once that passive is up and going and that little circle of death is twirling around him. He wants to get up close and personal, and once Anivia got in Mordekaiser's face, she's going to be shredded alive.
We got some Drake setup happening by Let Us Win. Looks like Team Eclipse is trying to respond here. Meanwhile, Moonstone Renewer got completed on Soraka. So Caspi now has their first mythic as well. And that was a fast dragon steal. Sorry, not steal, just full on, just owned it,
Yeah, this is... We've still got to see the Kale get the mythic. Once Kale, maybe, I'm assuming Kale's going Riftmaker here, but she's got the Nashor's Tooth completed. You've got double Moonstone on your Ivern and your Soraka. And look, until Kale comes online, they could just be dumping the shields and the heals on the Tristana, or dumping the shields and the heals on the Mordekaiser, who is really far ahead right now, sitting at 5-2. So Mordekaiser,
and we got a nice cross-map play there with Rift Herald. So they're definitely kind of responding appropriately with that standard macro.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you think that
only a 3K gold difference, right?
Right. Do you think that Rift Herald's going in bot lane?
We can take a look at it. It would, I think mid is where you really want to put it here. Try to open up that part of the map. Anivia right now can just sit in front of that tower, drop her ult, and just wave clear till the end of the game. And it's going to be very difficult to break into an Anivia lane. So I think that Rift Herald going mid, try to open up, forcing the Anivia back. And then it's going to allow Ivern a little bit of breathing room for the jungle. You already see the CS lead growing there in the jungle. So he'd be nice to have some relief.
You also see pretty good wards on the side of Eclipse into the blue side enemy jungle there. Whereas Let Us Win's vision line looks pretty standard.
Yeah, for sure. They're not really deep warding a little bit as another engage goes on.
They are deep invading though, vision or not. And that's a full 4v3 with the fourth person coming in for a collapse in the back. And first kill goes down. Let's see what else happens. Oh, Kale's finally doing some work here. I bet that feels really good.
Oh my gosh, look at the health bars.
Yep, so low. That was a mess.
And Decisions ended up jumping over so the Anivia walled off to one member. They just walled off at that, kind of tri-brush there, but Decisions leaped in with the rocket jump, getting into the fight, and then just stayed healed and shielded by the Soraka and the Ivern, and already back up to full health, has no lifesteal items, right? Just has Kraken Slayer and Agility Cloak. And that is all that double support running.
Oh, and a flash forward with the Q. Did you see that? Flash forward with the Q on Anivia. Now he's dueling Olaf too.
Oh, no.
Oh, look. Not gonna finish it out under tower, but that is some great top pressure there. While just as you called, it did play that Rift Herald and crack open that mid lane. Uh-oh, we got another big fight coming down. I don't think, well, Mord might make it. There we go. Killing spree for Pathfinder.
These heals
here
are
comes the
insane.
tail damage.
Look, he got down to 200 HP and he's already back to over half health. This is totally annoying to play against.
They're making the call for Baron here, aren't they?
Yeah, and they can. You know, they've got the Kayle. They don't have the Tristana with them, but the Kayle is enough to be able to drop some DPS down. They've got the heals to be able to keep Pathfinder healthy. Once his passive starts proccing, it's shredding the max health damage onto the Baron. So yeah, they can definitely take this.
Ivern ulti comes out for some additional damage. Oh, but they're here to respond. Let's see what happens with this. There goes. Oh, they got it. Okay. And I think this means that their jungler is in trouble. Yep. Did they all escape though? Did they all escape with purple? Nice body block there.
Watch Excisions. Watch him.
Oh, that is so aggressive.
Yeah. Oh no.
That's okay. That's okay. I love fights like that, even when they're not good. My teammates have a firm leash on me, which is for the best.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm gonna be really critical here.
Yeah.
So everybody buckle up. You don't put your Kayle in the back of the pit. Kayle's not gonna prevent anybody from coming into the back of the Baron pit, and you take more damage from Baron's butt. So you don't want to be back there. And you saw the Kayle get super low. They're able to rain damage down. They get the kill on Kayle. All right, that's one champion now with no Baron. They start collapsing on the Mordekaiser. Mordekaiser's, eating a lot of it. You just give them up. The Excisions rocket jumped into a 1v3, ulted the Viego away when he had maybe 2 charges of the bomb on him, so it really wasn't going to do much.
Uh-oh, and Mordekaiser's caught out with 4 people on him. Nicely placed wall once again. I feel like that's Happily Zerg's signature move. It's just amazing zoning.
The heals. Look at the heals. Yep. He doesn't die.
He's so angry.
Oh my gosh. There's the resets. Jeez. And not only do they have the heals, they have Kayle ult too if they got really desperate. So not only can they just heal through the damage, if it looks like it's going to be lethal, they drop the Kayle ult and then heal up through the Kayle ult. It's, or drop heals while they're under the effects of the Kayle ult. So, man, that's nutty.
And let's see if this duel happens. Actually, the Viego's able to push the Kayle back, huh?
Yeah, I mean, just a little bit. That the wave was kind of dying, so we'll see. She's gonna move on. They've got a fat wave top that they're gonna try to collapse here, but they're gonna have 3 coming up here to answer.
Should finally be able to pick up that bot lane tower now. This collapse top could be a little bit dangerous for them. So they just need to play safe and keep the pressure up.
And this is where we get into the Caitlyn pick a little bit, and where I personally am critical of Caitlyn is just there's not a lot you can do as a Caitlyn when you compare her to something like the Tristana. Like getting the resets, being able to completely take these fights out. And one of the things that Caitlyn used to build was Hurricane, and so she was dealing out damage to multiple targets at one time. That's really fallen out of favor. That's really not her build anymore. So she's primarily a single target damage threat. There's the flay out of the rocket jump.
Nice
Beautifully
juke.
done.
Yep. And Kayle just finished Riftmaker, so that should boost their stats quite a bit.
Yeah, the Caitlyn's just going to be really overwhelmed and Swarm here. But another fight will win Fancy's round
now that is
number 3.
A 4-level differential. That's 16 versus 12. I think I'm putting my money on Pathfinder for this one.
Absolutely. Here we go. He's an absolute monster. 10, 2, and 3 on the Mordekaiser. Olaf is English teachers keeping up with him in CS, but that's a 10 kill differential. There's a 3
What is that
level
4th
difference.
item on him? The shield. What is that?
That's just a component. We'll see what he's going to be building that into.
Ooh, can they? Okay, they got the tower down. Was doing a lot of damage there. Shield
Oh,
breaks up the team,
jeez.
but it's not enough to stall out there.
Yeah, look, they can try to
Oh,
end it here.
nice
They can
hook.
try to end it here.
Anivia gets 2 shot.
Now, but they haven't
Yeah.
taken an inhib yet, so they're diving the Nexus without taking an inhib. Uh,
So greedy for kills.
they're
There goes the
right now they're
Ivern.
pinging the mid inhib like,
Run!
hey guys, wait a second, we forgot something.
They're all gonna have to reset. Oh well.
Oh man.
Oh, Caitlyn gets grabbed though.
Yeah, Kayla's just going to get swarmed, unfortunately, with the Tristana being able to die. It's got to that point now where Caitlyn can't bully the Tristana anymore, so Tristana, a great answer to the Kate pick. Now they take the inhib. Now they can set their sights on the Nexus. Jeez.
Nice. And can Soraka keep healing when she's at basically 0 health?
It'll cancel out. It'll like gray it out, almost like she doesn't have mana for it.
Up, angry guy to the rescue. Tail blast, sending him right
He's
back
gonna-
right in the other direction.
he's gonna
I am not
grunt
going that
himself
way.
to the top.
Alrighty, well, GG everybody. That was an awesome win for Team Eclipse and well played by Let Us Win.
Yeah, and it makes things really spicy too, because now we do not have an undefeated team sitting at the top of the standings. And if anybody listened to Rift Happens on Monday, that was my hot take. We had English teacher on there, and I asked him, "What is your hot take for Tier 1 this week?" And I don't know, he said something lame. And then I said, "Well, let me give you mine. Mine is that Let Us Win will not be undefeated after this week. Call me a prophet."
Yep. We're eagerly looking forward to the next episode of that, by the way. So, looking for those updates.
I just,
Hey,
man,
we should take a minute and say thanks to some of the partners of Coach Rival. Just off the top of my head, that includes Group, We Think, and fill me in on a couple more here.
esports gear for sure. Hooking us up with our dope jerseys. I'm wearing last year's jersey right now. Shout out to Team Tragedy there. Any of them in the house, but our new ones are much more colorful. This one's
Yes,
very,
they are.
this one's
Gonna
very
match my
monochrome.
background.
Absolutely. So
Yep.
esports gear helping us out too. Cloud9 training grounds as well for always being a support there. All of our patrons and anybody that subscribes to us on Twitch, all of that goes to Phoenix Gaming Foundation, which then turns around and grants are given to schools. It's just so many. And you mentioned Group. We think those are obviously people that we've been working with for a long time. Also, the Games and Harassment Hotline. Don't want to forget about them because we all experience toxicity in the games, and sometimes gaming is a rough landscape. If you ever need somebody to talk to, it is a free hotline. I believe you can just text. You don't just have to call. You can text if you prefer to talk to somebody that way. It's really cool.
Shout out to all the awesome people that play too. It's just a friendly bunch of high school coaches. It's a great group. I've had a ton of fun so far.
Yeah, and these teams, there's our jersey there.
Oh,
On screen.
I got my
Definitely.
shipping notification yesterday. Let's go.
Nice. And they're really cool too. You can get your real name as well as your gamer tag put on the back, and throw a number on there if you prefer to have a number to go with your jersey. You can do that. But man, yeah, as you said, these teams really laid it all out there. The Champ Select was a really cool chess match. A lot of we're gonna pick Kale, we're gonna pick Anivia in response. They picked Caitlyn, we're gonna pick Tristana. The Soraka wasn't banned. The Soraka in and of itself wasn't necessarily a big problem. But when you pair it along with an Ivern and then even a Kale, even if the Kale is useless and the Kale like cannot CS, cannot get her items, Kale still has an ultimate. And if you have the Mordekaiser being able to stand on the front line and absorb all of that pressure and all of that damage, keep him healed up while those heals and shields are on cooldowns or maybe those resources are dropping, then you pop the Kale ult on him and you still can't kill him. It's absolutely there's so many words I can use to describe it, but it's not going to be a family friendly stream if I do that. So I'll just say it's really annoying to play into a comp like that, and they pulled it off, made it look just absolutely terrible to play against, and they pulled off the win. So congratulations to Team Eclipse for now tying for first with Let Us Win.
I think we're only going to see a very small 1 week dip in that Mordekaiser ban rate after this.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, they're showing why
So
it was 70.
temporary.
I mean, we called it, right? We called it. That's what the graphic is there for. You look at the graphic, 75% win rate. If you don't ban Mordekaiser, you're trolling. I said
Yep.
it.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. Thanks for supporting us in chat and subscribing. All goes to a good cause. And we'll see you guys again next week with some more Coach Rivals action.